Peace. Shalom. Back again with chapter 19 of the road from Orion. Lord of the sublime arm. It is not easy to characterize a discipline like the history of ideas. It is an uncertain object with badly drawn frontiers, methods borrowed from here and there, and an approach lacking in rigor and stability. The archaeology of knowledge and the discourse on language. Michael Foucault, 1972. John watched Lucia for several minutes as she wrote in her notebook. Then he stood up, stretched, and walked over to the pool, looking down at the reflection of the mountains in the clear water, thinking that what is above is what is below. Just then a mountain lion appeared in the waters, its yellow eyes flashing, its 150-pound tawny gold body frozen on a 6-foot expanse of the ledge. It was clear to all of us that the mountain lion in Arizona had few, if any, natural predators and was at top of the food chain. Immediately, John remembered that a person should stay calm, speak firmly, and make eye contact, always leaving the lion an escape path and showing the lion you are not prey. John looked directly into the glazed, pitless eyes, took off his shirt, and dove in the pool. When he surfaced, the lion was gone, as if it never had been there, as if it had been an hallucination. I rambled over to the 3-foot ledge and gazed beyond into the ravine. No tracks. When a lion walks, it places its hind paws in the imprint made by the front paw. Lions have 4 toes with 3 distinct lobes at the base of the pad, resulting in the distinctive M shape. Since their claws are retractable, they are not visible in the track. Was the lion really here? I was not sure. Without warning, I was drenched in sweat, my adrenaline surging. I had the sensation of something dreadful too close to my head. Slowly, my eyeballs rolled upward and I peered into a hard black eye of the cold sun. A sudden sickening rush of movement made me jerk backward as the dark disk burst with energy, pulsating at a fast rate, hammering at my frozen brain. Then the monstrous globe expanded into a huge, gaping mouth, a moving tongue of fire, licking out with flaming fingers, ripping at the depths of my being, tearing at my paralyzed heart. Unable to breathe, but desperately struggling to stay calm, I backed up slowly, leaving the beast an escape route. Then swiftly I dove for my deck chair beneath the umbrella's shaded protection, unnerved and paranoid from the encounter, an emotion of sweat blurring my vision. The sun was still stalking me. How did I sink so low on the food chain? I wanted to rip out my heart. Breathing deeply, I tried to relax to stop the attack of thoughts. Hearing the calm voice of John questioning Lucia reassured me that I was still alive and safe beneath the ostrich feathered sunshade. What do you mean when you say the rooms in the edifice map the journey through the duat? Glancing up from her writing, Lucia said, the subterranean rooms represent the underworld of Osiris and the duat. The scenes on the west wall of the edifice showed Taharka walking north, which is the same direction advised by the pyramid text and the coffin text. The west staircase wall leads to an antechamber, then a vestibule. The journey through the duat begins in the west, where the sun god approaches the pharaoh Taharka. From what Lucia said, it seemed as if the deceased had to go north, then into the duat in the west, but these directions were not specific, so we listened and watched as she opened to the plates in the back of Leclante's book. She explained that Taharka opens the duat and proceeds into the next room, which is the chapel of Ra. As she showed us the wall reliefs in the plates, we saw Taharka dressed in a kilt with a triangular front, sporting the ceremonial tail in the presence of 8 deities on a boat. A second representation depicts him near an offering table of meat, fowl, and bread lovers with his right hand raised. At the foot of the table is an oblong vase with blooming lotus. The translated hieroglyphs explain that Taharka, the sun god, will be transformed, and there is a mysterious door leading out of the duat. We waited for Lucia to tell us the escape route out of the duat hell, but she did not. The relief on the north wall of the room shows the night walk with the sun god and crew of 8, she continued. The sun god and 5 deities on board this small ship have ceremonial tails, as does the baboon in the bow, representative of the god Thoth. We then learn that the sun god Taharka conquers the monster serpent Apophis and is reborn as the newborn infant, being lifted by the primeval deities Heh and Hahet in the relief. Seeing the large winged transformation beetle on the wall reminded me of my experience pushing dung in the Sonoran desert. As her voice drowned on, the idea of becoming Frankenstein crossed my mind. Or worse, the idea of being devoured by a monster. And then a hawk flew up from the ravine and I flinched, thinking it was Bosch's bird beast. In the final room, the left side of the lintel is the upper register. In the upper register shows the king with the wife of the god holding a palm and a priest carrying a standard with a falcon on the perch. However, the dominant scene is a mound with a wide band arching above 2 outstretched arms with hands open to the sky. A falcon is centered between the arms on what appears to be a lotus with a plume on the right, a symbol of the mother goddess Isis. The arms reminded me of Christ on the cross, said John, mimicking Christ's stance on the cross by stretching his arms out to reenact the death of the God-man. Annoyed at John's theatrics, Lucia spoke rapidly. What the 2 long arms signify is the chemical equilibrium of the rising lambda genome with the host cell. Formerly inert or dormant, the genome is once again balanced by the activity of genes and were formerly repressed. These activated genes and the nutrient lactose medium balance the left arm and right arm of lambda genome, allowing the birth of the hard species by the lytic pathway at the expense of the human species and the lysogenic pathway, which has already occurred for the deceased. To me, it did not seem odd that the pharaohs used arms to signify the left and right arms of the lambda genome because modern geneticists talked in terms of left and right arms. But something was wrong. Could you just exterminate the human species with a little lactose? Lucia must have sensed my uneasiness. Actually, she said, it comes down to a competition for control between C1 protein and crow protein. If C1 wins the battle, we have the lifestyle of lysogeny. When crow wins, we have the lytic lifestyle. So when the crow protein victory, so with the crow protein victory, rather, the scales become balanced. Lysogeny was yesterday. The lytic circle is now. Lucia paused for a moment as I imagined two proteins fighting over a bowl of spilt milk. An expression crossed John's face as if he understood what she was saying. He said, the Egyptian judgment scale, equally balanced on both arms by a feather and a human heart, represent the same idea of chemical equilibrium brought by lactose metabolism. Yes, said Lucia, because the human heart must be balanced by the lactose nutrient medium by Isis, who is indispensable to the reaction that balances the scales by allowing lysis. John and I were beginning to appreciate that ISIS was pivotal to the chemical process. For without the lactose medium, the transformation of the deceased sun god would not take place. I didn't realize that the deceased was actually three molecules, peculiar forms in one chemical, self-assembled unit. The deceased was the sun god that bound to Osiris in order to produce the new hard species composed of all three. The notorious trinity was respectively the human insert bound to incoming lambda DNA, bound to rising lambda DNA in the host organism. Three kings,